Hello and welcome to WION's Business Masters, the show where we bring you the stories of leaders who are shaping India's financial and business landscape. Now, these are visionaries who are not just driving growth, but they're also building lasting legacies through their innovative ideas. And one of the most respected names in the asset management industry is joining us today, Mr. T.balasubramanian, Managing Director and CEO of Aditya Birla Sun Life Asset Management. Under his leadership, the company has become a household name for Indian investors, playing a crucial role in wealth creation and financial literacy. Mr. Balasubramanian, it's an honor to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me part of the show, and pleasure to be there.
Of course, sir. Now let's just dive right in, sir. You've been with Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC for over 2 decades. You've seen tremendous growth. I want to understand what's been the most rewarding part of this journey for you.
So, of course, in the last 30 years, there are many rewarding points. There are also many periods of challenges. I think that's being in the industry for long, at least we can take the credit and debit for having seen cycles.
Right.
So, I think the most rewarding points for Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund have been 2 periods. One is 2011 to 2016 period, 17 was one of the best period for Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund. We became the fastest growing asset management company in the country. We became the 3rd largest asset management company in the country in the year 2019. And that was one of the best period, I would say, in the last 30 years of Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund journey in the mutual fund industry. But having said that, in the last few years have also been quite interesting journey for us, and given the fact that Indian mutual fund industry has now reached the all-time high, and this last 3 years kind of period was never seen in the past. Therefore, we become one of the most respected asset management industry in an industry which is growing faster and also becoming one of the leading financial service intermediary in the financial capital market.
So it's interesting that you say that, because I was watching an interview where you said the only way to push for digitization is to accept that I am not ahead of the curve. Now I want to understand what's the philosophy behind this.
I think digital is something is evolving each day. Therefore, if I make an assumption that I have enough all the assets or all the facilities that I'm supposed to be creating in creating best experience for the investor in the digital platform, then I'll fool myself. Therefore, it is a digital as something which is evolving each day. The world is changing very fast. Therefore, creating assets in coping with that change is also very important. For example, when we started building our digital assets in the year 2016, we said we must have an app, and we must have every function that we create, it should be on a one-click basis. At that point of time, one click was a dream. One click was something it will be a little tough. And today, one click is now become the norm. So therefore, whatever you think will become the norm, that will get absolutely the new things will come. Therefore, it's like how adapting your digital technology today, using the data that we have. The 30 years old organization has got rich data. Then making artificial intelligence to sit on top of it and give you a sense of analyzing the data through the machine learning. But these are some of the things becoming ongoing. Therefore, I always believe, because one of my boss used to teach me that if we know so little, we don't know how little we know.
Right.
So that is the way I think digital also is operating.
So there's always room for change and growth.
Correct.
Right, sir. Now you're also an advocate for long-term investing, and you often stress the importance of patience in financial markets. How did this philosophy shape your own career?
Yeah, I think the longer the period you stay invested, they make more money. I think it's as simple as it's like all of us know, in the longer run everybody is dead. At the same time, where would you get reap the bigger benefit? Only if you, it's like it's like planting a tree and then seeing it growing and then seeing it giving a fruit and then giving a fruit continuously after every season, right? Every season it gives you fruit, but between the period of the year it doesn't give fruit. Therefore, to attain that fruit, you need to be patient, you need to be staying invested. If you have to stay passionate about investing in investment, and then if you remain passionate for long, then you need to worry about fluctuations. You don't need to get carried away by what is happening on a day-to-day basis, which is what Warren Buffett kind of the astute investors in the world, have been successful not because of anything else, just by remaining patient for getting the benefit of their investment in the long run. So that is the way I also believe that very fact that I have spent 30 years in the same organizations of Aditya Birla Mutual Fund,
Right.
it is nothing but being convinced on the job that you do, and
Right.
being convinced on the group, and then being convinced on what the Aditya Birla group is doing for employees, and also the staying convinced on the business itself.
Right.
So the industry will go through ups and downs. How much you are convinced about the industry in which you are working for it, and therefore you build your passion and remain patient.
All right, so invest and hold, that's the way to go. So now you started your career in 1994 to where you are today. What's the turning point in your career that led you to this leadership role at Aditya Birla Sun Life?
See, being part of Aditya Birla Group, I would say I'm fortunate. For one simple reason, the group not only, of course, takes care of us by giving us money in the form of salaries, they also takes care of our learning curve. So they work on our skill development, they work on our talent improvement, they work on our leadership style improvement. I mean, each one of us lacks something or other at each part of our life cycle. So that's something part of the group. They always provide leadership training at all point of times. And I was fortunate to get that growth after every 3 years, three and a half years, I used to get elevation in the, not only in the form of designation, even in terms of responsibilities. As the responsibility goes up, I always believe accountability also increases. So for that's something which is there. I think the turning point would be one, to become the CIO in the year 2005. And the CIO is a bigger job from a responsibility point of view, which has a huge accountability in managing public money very efficiently as an investment professional. So that was the one turning point. And the bigger turning point after the Lehman Brothers crisis, where we thought world will collapse in the financial market, it will have a tough time as we move forward. I was given the responsibility to run the asset management business as CEO in the year 2009. That is the time financial markets were tough, going through a tough time. Even the mutual fund industry were going through a tough time during that period. So these were the 2 points in which I took the responsibilities. And thanks to, I always extremely thankful to the Aditya Birla Group for entrusting the responsibility on us. At the same time, invest on us in our skill development and talent improvement and so on and so forth.
Right, sir. Now, can you share some insights about how your educational background has influenced your career in asset management and how you wish to continue to make an impact and contribute to greater financial literacy?
See, educational background, of course, when it comes to the question of stock market, investing, mutual funds, educational background, actually speaking, does not have much correlation. Because education, once you get educated, I think capital market needs a different kind of education. And whereas I was by education background, I'm a science graduates and then build my other management curriculums later on as finance is one of the field. Whereas the science and finance don't go together. But sometimes you can always build a capability, and that's the way I build that capability. But definitely one of the area which I think it's been helping, I think once you get into the mutual fund industry, right from beginning, I think we being one of the oldest mutual fund in the private sector mutual fund, and we are also one of the oldest mutual fund players in the Indian mutual fund industry as Aditya Birla Mutual Fund. Me also being one of the oldest person in the Indian mutual fund industry, one of the job that we always used to have in our hand in the early days, educating people to invest in mutual fund was another task. Making people understand what do you mean by mutual fund product, what do you mean by NAV, how does NAVs get calculated, how does the market functions, what are the dynamics of various moving parts of economy which actually influence the market.
All right, sir. Of course, you've been a huge proponent of financial literacy. Now, coming back to a point that you'd made earlier as well, of course, the industry, it's witnessed several ups and downs. What do you believe has been your most successful strategy to navigate challenging times in the market?
I think market have gone through multiple challenges. Sometimes it's a scam, sometimes all of a sudden somewhere something comes and hits the market sentiment and so on and so forth. I think while we have seen many challenges, I've seen 1999 bubble in the technology bubble, and then how you overcome that, and how you still survives. So that's one which I still remember, that how the entire journey post-bubble, technology bubble, the market evolved. And therefore, being on top of the job, ensure that you do right things and the right times, so that you remain strong. The second bigger challenge that we have seen is 2008 crisis, which is when the Lehman Brothers crisis happened, and none of us, frankly, we are already grown in size, and none of us were prepared for such kind of crisis. But at the same time, you need to be confident, you need to be knowing what should be done, and you need to be remain agile.
Now, with over almost 3 decades of experience, you've undoubtedly seen numerous changes in the industry. What do you believe will be the biggest challenge for asset management companies in the coming years?
So the asset management industry is growing faster. I think today, asset management industry is becoming one of the large industry in the Indian financial service industry. This, in my view, will continue to grow. You'll see more and more players coming in as well. You'll see new entrants coming in, and more and more players coming, both from domestic as well as from overseas. And the industry will become larger than, as big as the banking industry, I would say. Not larger than banking industry, but it will become as big as the banking industry in providing capital for varying needs of companies in the Indian capital market. At the same time, customer base will also increase quite significantly. I think what will remain to be seen is one, see, we have a lot of fiduciary responsibility. We are managing public money. So we have to manage in a manner that we don't make mistakes, we don't do anything wrong. At the same time, we also manage money in such a manner that we don't get into any kind of derailing kind of trend, especially losing the confidence of investors. So that remains one of the fiduciary responsibility, managing risk associated with the portfolio, meeting the expectation of investors through the right communications, toning down the expectation of investors so that we are able to deliver better experience in the long term. And then ensuring that customers, as the customer pool is increasing, providing the best possible services to the customers so the customer remains satisfied.
Coming back to the point that you'd made earlier as well, financial literacy, and this ties in perfectly. You've been a strong advocate for financial literacy. How important do you think financial education is in empowering investors to make informed decisions?
I think literacy will remain one of the ongoing things. I think so far the literacy, what has happened is more to teaching about the basics of investing in mutual funds, how the mutual fund product works, how mutual fund can play a role, and this is an ongoing thing. I think educating, I think the way I see is what we have done in the last 30 years has to get repeated again and again and again and again in making people understand. Then the public memory is generally short, and when we make return, when the euphoria in the market, generally there is a tendency to forget the basic is also equally high. Therefore, again and again reminding people, actually the investing is for the long term. Market will go through volatility, market will go through a period of consolidation, market will go through a period of downside. Market may not give a return at one of time, continue for a stretch, not even give a return. Then how do you manage that? This education has to be an ongoing thing.
In fact, sir, I was just going to come to this. You mentioned too many investments and a lot of analysis. That's not too great either. You've spoken about the need to earlier simplify financial products for retail investors. How does Aditya Birla Sun Life approach this challenge?
See, I think we as a fund house have taken this head on just when that it was made mandatory for the Indian mutual fund industry. We always used to do on our own initiatives. When it became regulator driven educational initiative that we are supposed to take, we were supposed to undertake by keeping aside a separate pool of money only to educate investors across the country. I think we as a fund house set up a separate cell. We created a team of people. We created a region-wise presence. A zone-wise presence we created, region-wise presence we created. We looked at various mediums through which we can reach out to people on educations, right from digital medium, print medium to the on-the-ground activities. And that's something I think we'll continue to do. We even have a direct investor education program across the country, from a small format to a bigger format, which we call it as a Nivesh Mahakumbh, where people, 1,500, 2,000 people come and attend.
Now, your role, of course, as a CEO must be extremely demanding. How do you ensure that you maintain a healthy work-life balance? What does your ideal weekend look like?
So, of course, for me, there is no weekend, there is no work days. I work for 24/7.
Okay.
And so, workaholic, so to speak.
Yes.
So, I think the work itself actually gives me the joy of working. Therefore, the work-life balance, normally it gets covered there.
Right.
But having said that, some element of involvement in social activities, spiritual activities, along the side of your work, and some bit of spending time with little bit of time spending with the family. and also I picked up some sports on the weekend, which I can also play.
All right.
And that's the way I think you spend your time. At the end of the day, I think I have realized the most important, if you enjoy your job and if you are able to create some joy out of your passion that you have for the job, that it will still takes care of most of your health. The more the worry that you have, the more the issues, and the lesser the worry, if you are light-hearted kind of thing, if you approach all the times and keep smiling all the time, that it actually gives you a sense of happy feeling.
Right, now just to expand on what you said, now in the midst of this, what are some personal hobbies? You mentioned sports there. How do you relax and recharge?
Well, of course, personally, I picked up, I know a little bit of chanting of Vedas. I think once in a times. I do, of course, sit and chant, say for about 1.5 hours whenever I get a free time. That gives you time for yourself. Second bit of learning music, bhajans especially.
All right.
And that's something I spend some time. I also picked up sports, which is the golf, which is post-COVID I picked up. It's a game which I said that you are playing for yourself. Therefore, it's a self game, and you keep introspecting as to how you play in the game. That's something I learned a lot of things related to the self, related to strategy, related to the management, related to the having a passions, and give time for yourself. These are some of the things which I also learned through the golf, and that's something I've made it as one of my passion.
All right, so that's really interesting perspective there. And what's one book or resource that has had a lasting impact on your professional as well as personal life?
Not much. I'm not a great book reader.
All right.
And most of the time I end up spending reading books more on current affairs rather than historical affairs. So therefore, it's very difficult. Even if I say something, I'll be saying just for the sake of saying. But otherwise, I have not spent too much time on. I've got a lot of books to read.
Right.
I have a complete library of books. I know what are the books are there, but normally I have not spent enough time reading it. But most of the time, I do, of course, spend time on current affairs which will have an impact for the future.
And sir, with that, is there any daily routine or ritual that helps you stay focused? You mentioned golf and chanting. Is there anything apart from that? Is there a daily habit that you are very particular about?
No, my, of course, routine is set right from the time you get up in the morning and the time you go back to I don't come at the time of leaving from the morning in the office. I don't even think that what time I'll come back home. So I think unless you finish your work, you don't come back home. So that's the way I start my day. And clearly my routine remains the same in the sense that if I get up at 6, by 8 I have to leave. So one of the routine which I have been maintaining, even if I leave home by about 8:30, instead of 8:30, if I leave by about 9, I'll start having a guilty conscience that I am leaving for the office late. Instead of reaching office by 9:30, which my time is 9:30, 9 to 9:30. If I reach office by 10 o'clock, I start feeling guilty that I'm reaching office late. So that actually I ensure I don't get that kind of guilty feeling. Not that I have to be there, but still they're all set in the system for a period of time. Therefore, the punctuality is something I generally maintain. I think that consciously it helps you build a better feeling for yourself.
Right. Now, sir, when you look at the younger generation of professionals, as you mentioned that you have certain things that you're very particular about. When you look at the younger generation of professionals who are entering the workforce today, what traits or characteristics do you admire the most about the younger workforce?
See, definitely younger workforce more optimistic. I think they look at the future. So they don't go into the past. So they look at the future, they are building the career, they look at things that can change over the next, say, a decade or so, and therefore they bring in optimisms. And second is they also bring the learning about the things that drives the market as of today. For example, when it comes to the question of adapting to the digital platform, most of the digital activities, the youngsters are pretty quick. The learning from them, I think, is also equally important for people like us. So not seen, I think we always will have thinking that yes, there are certain things that are possible, certain things are not possible. Whereas youngsters don't think like that. They give them job. Neither they think is impossible, nor they think is possible. They just do it.
All right.
They just do it. They just make an attempt. They just do it. And it doesn't come in their mind is impossible or possible because they don't even think like that.
All right.
But they know they find solution. They will do here and there. They will search, and they will be able to find a solution. So they are a solution approach kids. Therefore, I actually employ a lot of youngsters in my team. So I love to work with freshers. And given the fact they will listen, they will understand, they will go back to my solutions, they will come back with solutions, and they will make it happen. Whatever they make it happen may not be necessary to your satisfaction. At the end of the day, it will come closer to your what you are expecting. That's something I see is youngsters are bringing on the table as one of the strengths. Not because they have bookish knowledge is good, but they also have the knowledge that actually impacts the world today, which they are current than some of the some of us. So that's the way I see youngsters adding value to the firm.
All right. So you say the younger workforce brings a more solution-oriented approach, and that's great. And I'm sure many young professionals look up to you as well. You've mentored many young professionals throughout your career. What's one important piece of advice that you would give someone who's just starting out in the asset management industry?
See, one of the things which I always tell people is, as you get into the business, you need to be optimistic. You need to be optimistic about our country, first and foremost. I think you must feel that yes, India is going to grow faster and we will become the largest economy in the world. So for which you need to have optimism. You need to have conviction on what you are doing actually will take you there. If you don't have conviction and if you're still skeptical, then you will not be able to build your career. The third is whichever organization in which you come, you should actually embrace the organization to your own benefit for the long term. And fourth, I always tell people actually you create a space for yourself. You have to become indispensable. You as an individual, you have to become indispensable. Organization point of view is bad. If any individual who is indispensable, the organization point of view is bad. But individual point of view is very good. Therefore, you have to make a space for yourself so you become a go-to person. If you want something, who is a go-to person? I go to the individual. Therefore, I always tell youngsters, and these are some of the qualities you have to build. And then you may be smart, but you must also do the hard work because nothing comes easy. But easiest, it's always said that no, if I'm smart, I can. I think you have to also put equal amount of hard work. You have to spend equal amount of time to ensure your success comes faster. So I said you all can grow faster, youngsters can grow faster, provided you work towards it.
All right. Yeah. And if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice when you were starting your career, what would that be?
Same. So when I started my career, I always used to think you have come from nowhere and you are working somewhere. It's one of the biggest brands in the country is Aditya Birla Group. That means they have taken you, I think they have seen you something.
Yeah.
At the same time, you have to do justice for having you here. I always feel that you have to work for the salary that you are getting in. So that's the way I look at it. Salary is only one coming. For the salary that you are getting, you have to work for it. You have to give back full. So therefore that sincerity has to come. So I always tell people sincerity. Second is, there used to be a period when I was a youngsters, I used to do everything. I used to open the office, give somebody guest comes, give a chai. You also do your work.
Right.
You also do your operation work, multitasking.
All right.
So there is nothing which is actually specified or role for you. Everybody can do everything.
Okay.
Provided you think like that. Therefore, I always tell people, don't think actually this job is good, that job is good. Any job that comes to your way, you can do it. And over a period of time, you can build your career path. Subject to how you realize where your strength lies. So that is where you can build it. That's why we all are built. Because I never came to the industry thinking that I'll be a money manager, I'll be a CEO.
All right.
It all happened as time progresses. Therefore, working continuously with the job that is given to you is more important than start thinking and worrying about I'm in the right place and right job and so on. Every place, right place, every job is the right job. It's only the question of how you embrace it.
All right. So solution-oriented approach and just putting in the work, that's key, you say. So as someone who's seen multiple market cycles, how important is it for investors to stay disciplined and avoid emotional decisions, especially during downturns?
So I think most of the time is where in the equity market, there is absolutely no place for emotion. If you become emotional, the market can give you either side punishment.
Okay.
So it can, when it's going well, if you become emotional, again it have its own impact. When it's going down, you become emotional, you will sell in the wrong time, and therefore you will sell on the fence. I think market always rewards people who are passionate, who remain passionate for their investment to benefit. So if somebody would have given a good return, then you suddenly start thinking, no, he's given a good return, therefore you go and back him and so on and so forth. It doesn't work like that. If you start chasing return, it gives you, it can also equally give you a bad period. Therefore, the market always rewards people who stay invested for long term. That's something I have seen in cycles. But market does not have a role to play emotion. I think the moment you become emotional in every decision, even as a money manager, if I become emotional, I'll get married to stocks, it can punish you. And I can too much bullish on certain things, I can punish you. I mean, also too pessimistic and bearish on certain things. Knowing very well things are changing for good, but you still don't recognize it. Therefore, the catching up game, sometimes if you do too much of catching up game, also it actually push you down. Therefore, being on top of the job, remain agile, agility, I think is very important in the market. That's something which I say. But despite having agility, I think staying convinced and passionate, remain passionate on your investment will give the larger success. Therefore, there is absolutely no place for emotional. I always tell people emotion as much as possible avoid. Because if you have too much emotion, the probability of making wrong decision will also be equally high.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Balasubramanian, for joining us on WION Business Masters today. Your insights into leadership, investing and financial literacy have been incredibly valuable, and I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot from your experience. We wish you continued success, and we're of course excited to see the impact that you make going forward as well. And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us on WION Business Masters. Join us again in the next episode, where we bring you the stories of leaders transforming India's business landscape. Thank you so much.
Work-life balance is very important, but that does not mean that that if you are working on a Sunday, then you are spoiling your work-life balance, because it may so happen that on a Sunday, if you just spend 1 or 2 hours and be very clear about it, I don't think you are disrupting your work-life balance, right?